Welcome to the Intern Academy Gradcast. It's the culmination and continuation of decades of ministry being poured into each new generation. Listen in to intern graduates from all generations and learn what it really means to be a part of this pipeline of leadership that is changing the world one internship at a time.
Alrighty, folks, welcome back to the Gradcast. We're so glad to be here again, speaking to you all and interviewing some awesome grads who are going to share some of their wisdom with each of us. So my name is Charles. Like I said, I'm glad to be back with you guys. I'm joined by my co-host. I'm joined by Kaylee Parcels, Abby Hills. Hello.
What's up?
And then Nathan.
What's up?
All right, guys. And then we have the one and only Brian Spitters joining us today. He is going to be our IA grad, right? So we're going to get right into it with a very serious question. So I need all of us to really tune into this, all the listeners.
All right.
I need there to be a focus.
Okay.
If you were a superhero with, let's say, some extraordinary abilities, what would those abilities be? And I think in order to not be sacrilegious, we have to start with Brian, if that's okay with everybody.
Not to be sad, yeah.
I think that works.
Man, that's a tough question because there's a lot out there. I've always thought it'd be cool to be able to fly,
Yes.
flying or just being able to run fast. Flash is like one of my favorite superheroes, and I also like Spider-Man, but he can like sort of fly in a way with his webs.
Sure.
This is a funny question. I like to ask this question sometimes too, but I like to ask what's a power you'd want that isn't really a superpower, but just a cool thing to be able to do. And my answer for that
Oh,
is
that's good.
yeah, I like it. It's a little bit of a switch. And my answer for that one is always I would like to make people trip whenever I want them to, but not actually get hurt. Like you just like point and then they like trip on something. I don't know. Somebody
That's
said
hilarious.
that and I thought it was funny, so I stick with that one now.
Nice. That's amazing.
That would be something. Kaylee, what kind of go for it?
Yeah, I kind of take that approach that you brought up, Brian. My answer is always if I could speak and understand every language on the earth. So like not a regular superpower, but something I'm like, that would be amazing. And so that's my answer. And I think it'll be my answer for the rest of my life. So yeah.
Good.
Nice.
Thank you.
Abby, take it away.
Kaylee, to piggyback off of yours, well, I don't know, because Brian, I like yours. I always say I want to fly, but Kaylee, you just made me think. I think I would want to just be able to talk to dogs, like just be able to communicate with them. Because why not? I like to think they can probably understand what I say now, but I'm gonna be able to understand what they say. Yeah. So don't know why. Just think it'd be fun.
It's fair. That's a good answer.
Good stuff.
Yeah. For me, I would. So this kind of probably is something that's not a superpower, but something I would invent. I would want there to be bubbles above people's heads that allows me to read and for me to see what they're thinking. And so that way I can see if they're thinking about me. And some of those thoughts may not be good, but I still think that'd be something that's pretty cool. So
You're taking a different swing at being able to read minds. I like your answer better than just straight up. I want to read their minds. I want to speak.
Yeah.
bubble.
yeah,
There you
yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think if I had to have a superpower, it would be to see into the future, right? Which is relevant because the topic that we're going to discuss is vision casting in ministry. See, that was smooth. Thank you,
Yeah,
Abby,
good
for that
job.
one.
That's good.
Look at
Good
that.
job.
Look at that
Good job.
transition. So good.
So smooth.
I try. I dabble. Anyways. Now, the question that we're going to be discussing today, guys, is vision casting. What is it? How do you do it? When do you do it? the ins and out of vision casting. So that's why Brian is here with us today. He's going to share some of his wisdom in regards to that topic. But first, I'd like to, if I can, just kick it around to some of my co-hosts. What do you guys think when you think of vision casting, especially when it comes to vision casting in ministry?
I think when it comes to vision, you first of all you have to have a vision that is from the Lord. If your vision is about you, or if the vision is about the
Mhm.
church, or if it's about numbers, your vision is not going to be effective. And so when that vision it's something that's from the Lord that you've sought in prayer after, that vision is going to be a lot more easier to accomplish because it's what the Lord wants to do through you. And so my thing is that every time when I'm thinking about vision, incorporating it, you have to make sure that that vision is something that is attainable and something that other people are going to want to buy into it. If you don't have people that aren't going to buy into it, you don't have a vision. You have ideas. And so that's a really big thing when I'm thinking of vision. I want to make sure that somebody's going to buy into it and that I'm doing it for the right purpose.
It's
Good
good.
stuff.
Yeah.
I'd say,
think-
oh no, go ahead, Kaylee.
Go ahead. No. Go.
Are you sure?
Yep.
Okay. So for me, I'd say when I think of vision, it's like it helps you define why you do what you do. It's your why, right? And so I think a lot of times we can get so caught up in like every little detail with our vision when like I listened to a sermon the other week at my church, my home church, and literally the title of the sermon and what he talked about was the vision is Jesus. And I think that's so good because I mean that really is that's what all of our visions are, right? Like it's just about the Lord and that helps us define why we do what we do. It's all for him. And so I think
Right.
it's like a huge catalyst into vision casting for me has been just reminding myself like you said, it's not about the numbers, it's not about anything else. It's just about glorifying the Lord and reflecting him, bringing people to know him. And so that drives and defines why we do what we do. So it's kind of what comes to mind.
Yeah. Y'all hit
Awesome.
the nail right on the head. I agree with both of you guys, what you said. I'm learning through my degree right now, like how important it is, like Nathan said, getting people on the same page and buy-in because it's a team, it's a body, it's a family working towards a single goal, and that is, like Abby said, reflecting the goodness of God and his glory. So yeah, you guys said it best. So
Yeah, I agree with Kaylee. I don't think I could have said it any better myself. But the person that we're really here for, no offense to myself or the fellow co-host, Ryan Spitters. First, because I think this is amateur hour, and I'm probably a terrible host, but tell us who you are, what it is that you do if you haven't already, and then we'll jump right into it. I think Kaylee's gonna have a really awesome question about vision casting for you today. So
Cool.
take it
Yeah,
away.
I am Brian Spitters. I am the student and children's pastor at North Avenue Church of God in Battle Creek, Michigan. I've been there for coming up on 6 years now. I love it. Before that, I was at a different church in Ohio, and before that, I was an intern in St. Joe, Michigan. So been doing ministry now for what would that be? A year and a half, 6, 9 years. That's crazy. I never really thought about adding them all together, but yeah. But I love what I do. Don't see myself ever changing. I don't look at student and children's ministry as a stepping stone. I love that I get to invest in the youth of our world and help create world changers.
that's awesome.
Awesome stuff.
Cool.
So you've been in ministry quite a while, and I'm a rookie. I've never had to really do a serious vision casting, look into the future in a sense of a team, of a ministry group or a church. But I'm interested to know, how do you create a vision in ministry, and why is that so important to do in ministry?
Mm-hmm. That's a good question. I think vision, when you think of vision, like without my glasses, I can't see clearly. And I think that's exactly what a vision does for a ministry. It allows everybody to be able to see clearly and know where they need to go. It's kind of like goals or a strategy. There's a lot of different words that come to mind when I think of vision, but without a goal, there's no way to know if what you're doing is working. There's no way to measure what you're doing. There's no way to really know if what you're doing is being effective, because you could just be going in crazy directions all the time. It's kind of like when you're on a highway and you have guardrails. That's kind of what a vision does. It keeps you going on the path you should. And if you start to get off and get close, into the wrong side of the road, then it reminds you, I got to get back on track again. So I think vision is not just, important to a ministry, and that could be children's ministry or student ministry or a church in general or the church in general. I think it's not just something that is important. It's crucial. Like without it, I don't feel like ministry can be effective. And it all comes back. We all have the same master vision. The point is to bring people to Jesus and to be a follower of Jesus and go to heaven. And but I think there's different ways that churches or ministries decide to do that, kind of depending on who they're trying to reach. And so, when it comes to creating a vision, I think a lot of that depends on who you're creating that vision for. So it's knowing the people in your church or in your ministry or whatever ministry you're working with, and figuring out what is needed at that place. Because me in Battle Creek and someone from Florida or Colorado or California, whatever, we're all going to have different things that we need and different ways to move forward. And so I think it kind of comes to knowing your people, who you're leading, and creating something that's going to help them get to where they need to be.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Kind of a question going along this. So just honestly, I'm curious how y'all do it. Like, would you say that you guys kind of have like here's our vision statement and then everything else falls in line? Is it just that, or is it like how often do you guys revise it? Do you do it differently in your different ministries? Just kind of like more of the, like, should I have like 3 different visions, and then like just kind of how do you guys do all that?
Yeah. So at our church, we have we have a mission statement, which is the same thing as a vision statement, and it is grow in faith, serve people together. And I love it. And, actually, when did we, maybe a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, we kind of got together as a staff and elders and just leaders in our church and decided if we wanted that to continue to be the mission statement, or if we wanted to make any adjustments to it. We kind of came to the conclusion that we really liked that as our vision and really jumped into it. So now, kind of instead of having all of our pastors or leaders in our church are kind of put into the Grow in Faith team, the Serve People team, or the Together team. So we kind of, everything we do is about those 3 things. But when it came to the student ministry and to the children's ministry, I changed it up a little bit. I kept the same idea, but I changed the words. So for student ministry, it's sharpen each other, grow in faith, go make a difference. So sharpen, grow, go. And then for the children's ministry, I kind of simplified it just so, thinking of an elementary student, like what would they truly understand? And I changed it to learn, love, live, which is learn about Jesus, love others, and live out your faith.
There's a brand new thing that we are doing as a part of our Intern Academy life in this year. Just in a couple of months, we are hosting our very first high school retreat just for kids that are feeling called to ministry, to get together and to really explore that call and see what God might be calling them to do. We want to give them the chance to figure out what it might look like for them to do internships, to connect them with the process of what it looks like to get started in ministry in general. For you ministry leaders out there, we want to give you guys the chance to invite your high school students to come out and be a part of this. It's completely free for them to be there. All they have to do is get to Indianapolis. We'll pay for their hotel, their meals, the time that they're going to be there, all of that stuff. We just want to make a way for students to figure out what it looks like for them to seek out their calling and ministry. All the information and registration is all live on our website at internacademy.net/called. Now let's get back to the Gradcast.
So I kind of adjusted it for every ministry, but it's all the same vision for our church. And, I think it is important to reevaluate vision, because I think it does change, especially now. I was actually today, I just had a conversation with my senior pastor about vision, and he said, I think it's hard to even cast a vision thinking more than 2 years ahead right now, because everything's changing so drastically. And, with COVID, it affected ministry in such a huge way. It's hard. You used to be able to cast a vision for 5-10 years. And he's like, now I struggle to cast a vision that I think will be exactly the same 2 years from now. So I think it is something that needs to be adjusted at times, depending on what the need is. But overall, we've stayed pretty close to that vision since I've been there for 6 years, and just made little adjustments to stay on the right path, I guess. But yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. So
That ends your question.
Yeah, that was great. That was super awesome. I was like trying to figure out what I was asking, and that is exactly what I was like. That's so good. Okay, so you've created the vision, you have the vision statement kind of different for each of your ministries. Super awesome. So now how do you incorporate your vision? That's kind of the next question. Like, okay, we've created it. Now how do we live it out? So it's kind of, Yeah,
no, I think that's crucial. I think it's important to not just have it be like a one and done type thing. Like, hey, here's our vision, and then never talk about it again. And I think some churches do that. I've been lucky to be at churches that have been really good at staying close to that vision. But, I think when a church has a vision but never talks about it, it's kind of pointless to have a vision. If you have a goal but don't share that goal, no one's going to know that goal to work towards. And so, especially when it comes to vision, I think it's really important to share about it. I know as a church, we do a sermon series once a year, specifically about our mission statement. And, we do like a sermon on each one. And I've kind of brought that back down into the student ministry as well. And same thing, I do a sermon series every year on Sharpen, Grow, Go. And I constantly try and bring those 3 words and ideas into my talks or lessons or sermons, whatever you want to call it. We actually got a big label thing made of our mission statement that's up on the wall, and I point to it often during my sermons. It's in the worship room, so as soon as they go in there, it's like huge up on the wall, because I don't look at our mission statement as this is how we want you to be when you're in the church. I look at it as this is who we want you to be as a person. I want you to be somebody who grows in faith and serves people and are doing it together. Or, for students, I want you to be someone who sharpens the people around you, who grows in faith and makes a difference because of that. And so I think it's really important to bring that up often. And that's, so when it comes to incorporating a vision, I think it's important for everybody in the church to know it, and not just the leadership, but to bring it up enough to know that everyone in your church could say it. If you say, hey, what's our mission statement? Like, I feel like the congregation should be able to say, oh, it's this, because they've been told enough, and it's been, I don't want to say shoved down their throats, because that makes it sound bad, but in a way it really should be that way. I think it is something that's talked about so much that everybody knows it. Yeah. And I think too, especially when it comes to incorporating a vision, it shouldn't just be like I said, in the church thing. It should be something that moves out into the community. Like I said, we do a sermon series, and we want people to know it, because we want them to live that out outside, which is why I have go make a difference, or live out your faith. It's like a 7-day a week thing, not just a 2-day a week thing on like Wednesdays and Sundays or whenever church stuff is. But yeah,
that's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah. So this is another question, if I can just interject here. And I apologize if you've already answered this, but when it comes to the more practical sides of like executing vision, do you have like I have a planner that I believe it's called the Michael Hyatt planner. I spent an ungodly amount of money on it. Unfortunately, I'm not proud to admit that. However, it's really handy because what it does is it asks you to break down your visions for the year, your visions for the quarter, your visions for the month, the week, and the day.
Wow.
So just
Oh, dang.
wondering, if in your position, is that something that you've thought about? Is that something that you do? And how can you see that, playing in the success of a ministry?
Do you mean just like implementing into a strategy? Is that what you mean?
That or just breaking down goals, like bite-sized goals
Yeah.
that
Hmm.
eventually accomplish the main goal for like the season or the year.
hmm Yeah, I actually remember back in when I was in St. Joe interning, they used to do WIGs, so wildly important goals, and they had different WIGs for each of the mission statement, aspects. And I thought that was always cool. So ever since then, I've kind of had this idea in my head of like it's important to not just say, yeah, my goal is sharpen each other, but how are we going to do that? Or my goal is not just, yeah, we need to grow in faith, but like how do we do that? And I think that is important and something that can't just be brought up once a year. And like you said, I think it's awesome that like it's a day, week, month, 2 month, 6 month, whatever. I think it's incredibly important to talk about smaller goals within that, because everything you do in ministry should be going towards a mission statement. I remember Caleb Weeks telling me that way back in the day too. He said everything you do, like nothing you do, should be outside of what your mission statement is. If it is, then you shouldn't be doing it. And so I think
That's
it's
so good.
important. Yeah,
That's fire.
yeah. It's one of those things. Like there's always those things people tell you. They're like, I'm always going to remember that. That was one of them.
Yep.
And I
There
think,
you go.
yeah. So I don't know. I'm kind of losing my train of thought, but I don't know. Did that answer what you were asking?
That did.
Okay.
Thank you. So, yeah, and if I can too, really quickly throw this one in there.
Mhm.
How do you delegate that? Like, is there a lot of delegation that takes place when you're vision casting, like with a team or with, a group of the leadership at the church? How important is delegating when it comes to vision casting?
Yeah, and I think vision casting is never something that you know the person in charge should do. So like the senior pastor shouldn't be in charge of vision casting. I shouldn't be in charge of vision casting the student ministry. And I think it's important to bring people in on that. And um, you know I I'm not necessarily a huge part of vision casting for the church in general. That is something the senior pastor does with like the elders and stuff, but we have conversations about it. And often we have conversations, if not weekly, every other week, just about what we're doing as a church and what can we do to work towards that. But when it comes to like the student ministry and the children's ministry, um, you know, I'm not perfect at all, and something I think could be an absolutely stupid idea. And so, I think it's really important to bring other people in on vision casting. And so I'm very honest with my leaders. And, when I'm planning a sermon series right now and working on making a high school small group where we're really digging deep into some different tools to help them grow in their faith. I don't want that to be something that's just me. So I go to them and I say, hey, like, let's meet and talk about this. I would love to get your ideas, run what I'm thinking by you. So I think, yeah, when it comes to vision casting, it should never be something that one person does, but a thing a group does. Vision is never meant to be one person's ideas, but the church in general moving forward in a direction. And I think when you give other people ownership within that vision, it makes them want to be more of a part of it as well. So that's even going down into the church, like letting the church know exactly what you're doing, so they can feel a part of it and feel some ownership in that. I think that's important.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly I loved everything you're talking about. This is pretty much a personal question for me, and the only reason is because I just jumped into ministry about 4.5, 5 months ago. So I'm just kind of now in that transition spot of just trying to figure out, what is a vision? This is first ministry job for me. So what is a vision? What does that look like? Who does that incorporate? How long does the prep for a vision take? How long should you stay in prayer for a vision? How do you know if it's the right or wrong? All of these questions, we don't have time to go into. I wish we did, but but I guess this kind of leads into my next question, is, why is this so important for us to know about when to do vision casting, and when is the right time for us to implement that vision, and who do we bring in for that? You kind of went into a little bit of that, but when's exactly the right time, if there even is a right time for it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think vision is something that should be done quickly. I think without a vision, without a goal, you don't really know what you're doing or what you should be working towards. But that being said, it's also not something to jump into so quickly that you just kind of like throw some words out there and hope it sticks. It's something that should be prayerfully considered, and conversation should be had. I know when I started at North Avenue Church of God, where I am now, the guy before me had been there for like 20 some years, been there for so long, and the students knew him so well, and he had been doing it for so long that I gave it some time. I think things were going well enough to where I could just kind of continue what he was doing before making any big changes. And so I took, I don't even remember, 6 months of just kind of getting to know the ministry and getting to know the church before I really even thought about changing something like a vision for the ministry. So, I think because we all have the same master vision of bringing people to Christ, I think it can not be something that you come in like week one, you're like, all right, here's our vision. Because, I think I did say it before, a lot of what your vision has to be dependent on the people who you're casting the vision for and bringing people in on that. And that's not something that can be done overnight. But I think it is something that needs to be thought of, and not just like one time where you're like, all right, I got my vision now I don't have to think about it for 5 years, but something that's constantly evaluated. And especially when it comes to not the vision itself, but what you're doing because of the mission, like all of the activities, youth group, and like I think it's important to look back on that and decide and figure out if you're doing everything that you should be doing, or are there things that aren't part of your mission statement that you're doing? Are there things that you should be doing that you're not, that you're missing? Or, and I think that's where bringing other people in on it can help, because, I'm gifted in some ways and not gifted in other ways. And so I think bringing other people in on casting a vision allows for multiple point of views and for things not to be missed as much. And having conversations with people like that, like I said, is not something you can just do overnight. That takes time to meet with people. And, I think once you cast a vision, then that's when you can create a structure that goes with that vision. And when you have the structure going, that's when I think real change, life change can happen for students and for, just the church or whoever you're casting that vision for.
Awesome. And that's what we should be about. So good stuff. All right. Like Nathan said, there's so many more questions that I feel like we could each, throw at you, but for the sake of time, when we do want to be respectful of your time, we're going to have to cut it short here soon. But, Brian, thank you so much again for coming on to the show and for sharing some of your wisdom. Seriously, thank you. And I pray that, what you've shared with us tonight will help somebody watching, and we'll do well to remember what it is that you said when we go into our own ministries. So Brian, thank you for joining us. Say that one more time. I apologize.
I just appreciate you having me. You guys are talking to me like I've been doing ministry forever, but I still feel like I'm new to ministry. I have so much to learn. 9 years is not a lot when some people have been doing it for 50 years. I always wanted to be a lifelong learner. And I think that kind of goes with vision too, of realizing we're not at all perfect and we we need to be okay to change something if we made a mistake.
Well, amen. Yeah,
But I appreciate it.
Yeah,
no
this
problem.
is so good. I think it's super helpful for probably all of us, just being reminded that, that, like you said, our vision helps us, if we're not, what was it that you said, that that one piece of advice you got, Brian? So I need to hear it again from
Oh, well, I don't know. I don't
so
remember the
good.
exact words, but essentially it was, if what you're doing is not a part of your vision, then you shouldn't be doing it.
Yes, that so good, man. I
Fire.
need to write that down because, man, it's so good. But thank you so much. Yeah, super helpful, super awesome.
Wise words, wise words.
Wise.
And if I may, Brian, an internship or a residency is nothing in comparison to somebody who's been in ministry for 10 years. So, again, what you just shared with us is extremely valuable. Whether you've been in
Yes.
ministry
Mhm.
for 5 years, which is longer than we've been, I think it's safe to say it's very valuable. So again, thank you so much for joining us on the Gradcast. And to those of you who are watching, I pray that you take away something from what Brian Spitter shared with us tonight. And just take it and apply it, and we'll hope to see you next time, and we'll learn about how to do some more ministry together next time on the Gradcast. So thank you again, Brian.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.